Welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so happy you're with us today. One of my dearest personal friends, and she also does this essential work of afterlife research and education as well, is our wonderful Seek Reality guest today. There actually are very few of us who have given this work all the time and effort it requires to become really knowledgeable and expert in this field, and who also work and teach in the field of genuine spirituality. But Sandra Champlain does all of that. And unlike me, she does it on her own. As you know, I have very big help, both materially and non-materially. My partner on this side of the veil is Craig Hogan, and I don't know how I could have managed to do half of what I've done without him. And of course, my non-material partner is my spirit guide, Thomas. He's my co-pilot. He's always right by my side, and without his constant guidance and help, I'd be lost. But Sandra Champlain is the captain of her own ship, and I'm sure she's getting great spiritual guidance, but she's much less tentative about it all than I am. Instead, Sandra is a happy warrior for truth and love in the world, and she spreads joy wherever she goes. Sandra Champlain is with us today for the 18th time in our almost 12 years of doing Seek Reality. She's one of the few really indispensable people in the field of afterlife research and education, and her beautiful work in this whole world is really unmatched. For years now, Sandra has done her weekly Sunday gatherings with an international team of mediums, and she has helped the phenomenal Brazilian physical medium Sonia Rinaldi's work immeasurably. With her successful movie, it's entitled Rinaldi, and it's now featured on Amazon. Go look it up. You'll love it. So my darling Sandra, my wonderful friend, I simply don't know how you do all that you do without a great deal of extra help. Welcome, welcome, my dear one. I'm delighted to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you, Roberta. I feel the exact same way about you. How do we do it? I don't know. We're got a team on the other side that just kind of fill our sails with that inspiration. But
And
I'm
with
happy to be
love,
here.
with so much love. Oh, it's so wonderful. We have so much fun. We're about to see each other again. We get to see each other 2, 3 times a year because whenever I go to Massachusetts, we make a point of having lunch or dinner together, and that's a whole nother story. I got to tell you, that's so much fun. But what have you been up to, Sandra? What are you up to now?
Well, good things, Roberta.
Uh-huh.
I
Always good thing.
always keep plugging away like you do with the podcast. So I have got some really cool new interviews and things happening that I'd love to share. Also,
Okay.
you mentioned our Sunday gathering. It's an inspirational service on Zoom. Everybody in the world is invited. Every week we get 150 to 200 people, and I love that. It's filled with
Wow.
joy, inspiration, music, videos. We usually have a theme, and the last half of it is a medium demonstration. So we have loved ones from all sides of life come in, just showing us just how close they are, that they're a part of our everyday life. They continue to learn and love and grow on the other side, but they can easily be right here with us. So the messages are so great and it's so joyful. And no matter what kind of a day I'm having, after having one of our Sunday gatherings, I'm on top of the world. And I never knew, Roberta, how much we really make a difference. Just in a nutshell, it was 5 years ago that my friends and I started it. And as we know, old COVID hit the world, and we thought, what is something we can do to give back? Because we were all housebound. So we thought maybe a short term thing. Well, now we're into our sixth year of doing
You
this with
you passed 5 years with
just
wow.
past 5 years, just completed 5 years, now going into six. And we
Congratulations.
have a chat box. Thank you very much. And in the chat box, people were writing what the Sunday gathering meant to them, and people have been coming for years. And there's been grief, there's been hardship. It's some people still have an opportunity to go to in-person spiritual services, and I don't knock them. They're great, but ours is non-denominational, and it is fun, joyful, inspirational, empowering. And so people were writing in the chat box that it really is the one thing in the week they're looking forward to. It gets them focused on what direction they want to go on for the week, helps them remember that they're not alone, that we're spiritually guided. And it's just a whole heck of a lot of fun. So there's people that have been coming for all these years. I've never met them. They've never emailed me. And it's just touched my heart is what this means. So it's a church without walls, if I can call it that.
Yes. How beautiful. Yeah, that's pretty clear. I always go to that email. I read it. I I I almost feel I never have the time somehow. I always mean to go and be part of it, and I never somehow have the time. But wow, it seems to be a wonderful place for people just to be. If they feel the need for that kind of sharing, it's there. It's you can just feel the vibes from it. It's beautiful. Just
And
beautiful.
you can come live or you can watch the replays. Everything's on my site, which is wedon'tdie.com. You can click on Sunday Gathering, come join us on a live one or watch a replay, and you'll get just as much inspiration.
Yeah, just beautiful. And you do a lot with uh, George Noory and with what he does too.
Absolutely. Coast to Coast AM is on in the wee hours, if you're here in North America. Paranormal show, and he's a wonderful man. They were the ones who invited me to start a podcast with them, which is called Shades of the Afterlife. And now oh my gosh, I have 230 episodes with
Wow,
them already. And then once a month, I'm on Coast to Coast with George at 1 a.m. my time, sharing some news and inspiration and whatever the latest is on the afterlife. They really are a family, and I just put 110% into everything that I do because you never know who's listening. Never, ever, ever. And it could be just that one time that somebody's driving in the wee hours and they just happen to turn their dial to whatever AM station hosts. They find Coast to Coast, and a few words can give people their life back, especially if they've got a loved one who's passed and they are grieving. So I give it everything I've got.
that's why we do what we do. You never know who's listening to your podcast, to George Noory's broadcast, to Seek Reality, because we go all over the world. You and I do both. And you never know who needs the words that are coming through right at that minute. And you hear from them, and so do I. I was listening and randomly this, randomly that, and it made all the difference in my life when you get that email, that one email, just that one email, you say, now I know why I was born.
We think they're random, but are they? I
No,
remember
they're
one
never random.
one man wrote me, and he had gotten his new smartphone, and he asked Siri to play news on a podcast. Now, his daughter had just passed at the age of 3 years old from
Oh,
whatever cancer, whatever took her.
yeah,
And what did Siri play? We Don't Die radio with me.
yeah.
He asked for news. That's what played. There was another woman, her
That's
son had passed. Just before he passed, he bought her a smart TV tied into cable. Wasn't all hooked up, she didn't think. Anyways, he passes away, her adult son. She comes home from grocery shopping. Not only is the television on, but it's on YouTube and it's playing a replay of my Sunday gathering.
yes. Oh, yeah.
So these stories, they still give me goosebumps because
Oh, of course.
this is real. This is real. And so sometimes an idea will come on to turn a radio on or search for something on YouTube. And it gives the spirit world, I think, an opportunity to put something in our path that might make a difference. So whether it's Seek Reality or one of my podcasts, I'm ever so grateful. So we're here to serve and make a difference. And that's what we do, dear friend Roberta.
So many times, almost every day, you and I get these messages that tell us why we were born, why we're doing this work, how we're serving. I mean, we get so much more than the time we give to this work. It's such a beautiful thing. It lifts your heart so much. I mean, it makes you happy all the time. I mean, just the other day, someone said, "Well, you've spent so much time doing this." I said, "It's nothing compared to what I get out of it." And that is so true. So beautifully true.
And it keeps me on my toes too, because there's always something to talk about. There's always a variation on a story or an experience. And, right now I've got my teeth thinking into these veridical near death experiences, these things that are verified. And although it's not about the afterlife, that in fact shows us that our consciousness can be outside of our body. So I love hearing those kind of stories from
Yeah,
guests and reading books. And I also love deathbed visitation stories that nobody dies alone. Our loved ones are there to greet us. They're looking healthy and younger. And they said, get yourself ready. We're going on a trip. And to know that there's the intelligence that we don't die alone and that we can start seeing those loved ones weeks before we pass away, and they are as real as I'm looking at you right now through Zoom, as real as that. And then just a couple of weeks ago, there's another thing that I didn't really even know existed, if I might share that with you and your
please do.
your audience. we've
Yeah.
heard we've heard of Dr. Al Botkin,
Yep, yep.
who I know you've spoken with, which
Wonderful,
in
wonderful technique
induced
he had.
after death communication,
Yes,
IADC. And in a nutshell, he was working with veterans with something called EMDR, which
yes,
is eye movements that disassociate a painful emotion to a memory. And it is the gold standard in reduction of PTSD on the planet, is doing these eye movements with a trained therapist. Well,
absolutely.
in a
Yeah,
nutshell, he gave a little extra to some of his people, and it almost transported them into an altered state where they could experience loved ones who had passed. And sometimes it was vividly, sometimes they felt a touch, sometimes they heard words from them. Well, little did I know that 8 years or so ago, when I interviewed Dr. Botkin, that there'd be a young man in Adelaide, Australia, who was out walking his dog. This is psychologist Tom Nemi. And at the time, he worked with a lot of grieving people, and he was there for them and could just do the best for him, but he couldn't get rid of their pain, right? Grief is just so darn painful. And he's hearing this interview with me and Dr. Botkin. He says, that seems too good to be true,
yeah,
but it's a moral responsibility that I need to search this out. Is this possible? So he went through the training, the IADC grief therapy training, and he became a certified therapist. Well, in a nutshell, people have two 90-minute sessions with them, and now it's over. People can do it over Zoom. You don't have to be in person. And whether they watch a little bouncing ball go left, right on their computer, or people can sit and just tap on either shoulder, left, right, left, right. Now, this is all guided with a trained therapist. The thing is people have to be willing to experience their deep grief and deep sadness. And just like when we sleep at night, we go through the REM state, that rapid eye movement, there's some kind of connection with this bilateral stimulation that it really releases that deep grief and sadness. So not only did he become a therapist, but he wanted to study it. So he got, I think it was the University of Adelaide involved, and they got quite a number of subjects to test this on. And not only did most people, this completely reduced their sadness and grief, that it gave them their life again, but 75% of them experienced their deceased loved ones.
oh, beautiful.
75%.
Wow.
So he's got a book that just came out a couple of weeks ago, and I read that from cover to cover, and I interviewed him, and it's fascinating because people, yes, they feel their loved ones, they see them, and it's a transformational experience, that the sadness is gone. They can live their life, and they're more prone to having dreams about their loved ones. And and feeling them around. And what a gift. So he is now on a journey to get to as many people as possible, get more therapists involved, all based on Dr. Botkin's methodology, but modernizing it a little bit. And Dr. Botkin wrote the foreword for his book. And I am going to have one of these sessions, Roberta. Now, it's been 15 years since my dad passed, and I don't on a daily basis feel deep grief and sadness, but you know some of my family history.
Oh, of
And when
course.
I look through past pictures, and if I get
Yeah.
in a conversation with my mom, it just starts simmering and,
Yeah.
tears can form. And, we all have that. So do I necessarily want to relive all of that sadness? No. However, I have got a big mouth for humanity through helping people through grief, through giving people life back. And if there's even a chance that we get to experience our loved one, 75% is a huge amount.
That's a
And so
lot.
I am going to go in and I'm going to have these 2 sessions with Dr. Tom and just see what happens. And so I'm a human guinea pig for it. But if it is what he says it is, and now he's worked with hundreds of people who have had their grief pretty much vanish, that's something we need to get out to as many people as possible. So that's what's really I'm passionate about right now. And
That's front of mind for you right now. Yeah. And you were going to send me his contact information so we could have him on Secret Reality too.
I will do that. I will do that.
Super. Oh, thank you so much, dear. Great. Yeah. Alan Bodkin is someone that I think we've had him too as well several years ago. And he did wonderful work with Vietnam veterans, especially. I mean, he was helping some of them who were deep in guilt and grief and messed up completely. They couldn't even work. And he helped some would be completely healed. I remember some of those stories. They were so amazing that they were, you know, they had people come through that these people had killed, and the little Vietnamese people came through and blessed them and healed them, and the veterans walked out completely healed, walked out of Dr. Bodkin's office. I mean, making me emotional just thinking about some of those
Absolutely.
stories.
And he himself wasn't into the afterlife or anything.
I
And
mean, this is
what's
after 30, 40 years of they couldn't
he
even.
correct? People don't even have to know about the afterlife side of this. I mean, Dr.
No,
Bot can work with many people with that not being the intention. And
no, it
people were
was
having the
amazing.
same results. And this EMDR is interesting, these eye movements. And I don't remember the lady's name and how it all began, but she was out for a walk and she was really stewing about something emotionally. And she was scanning the ground back and forth for whatever reason. And I don't know, but it alleviated whatever was she was dealing with. And she's like, what is this? And so that simple little thing ended up being the gold star treatment now for PTSD, which is major. No, there's not a single one of us that want anybody to live with PTSD or grief or
No,
any
it's
kind of pain.
horrible.
And I
Trauma.
think, yeah, that there's under our planet, there's a way to fix everything. That's what my mom says. Everything can be fixed.
It's so extraordinary.
It
Yes.
is. And
That
where
is
this is going to lead
exciting.
in the future, I don't know, but I am all for sharing this and hoping that other trained therapists get involved. And
Yeah, because this
it's
is
not more than a
huge.
weekend to learn it, I believe, and they can do it remotely through Zoom,
But they
through another
walked in
therapist.
so traumatized they could not work. They were completely just messed up veterans after decades, and they walked out healed out of his office after one treatment. I found those at the time. I found those stories just wow. We have to get this to everybody.
I know. And Dr. Botkin's now retired, so he's so thrilled that somebody's carrying on with this.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
I will
Absolutely.
share. Yeah.
Wow. So what else do you have for us to know about and what's
What else? Yeah. Well, I think there's been a lot of opportunities that I've had that I've been able to share, and I don't know how exactly
The
people have.
consciousness, the fact that
Mhm.
you've mentioned to me, we talk every once in a while, that you've mentioned to me that, and I see it too, science in tiny, tiny baby steps is advancing beyond its absurd obsession with the notion that consciousness is produced by the brain, which of course makes no sense. It's impossible for that to be true. And is beginning to think about somehow it's beyond the brain. There's more to it than just something that our brains produce. And
Mhm.
that's potentially exciting, but it's going much too slowly. It's advancing much too slowly. Um, let's see where it goes.
People
But
are picking up the ball though and running with it. And there's a lot of scientifically
few
minded
of them are,
people in the
yes.
studies and doctors and it's out there if we look for it. And even there a couple of months ago, there was a medical report published that no longer can science say that near-death experiences are something that happens when the brain shuts down. Because that used to be the big thing. Oh, it's natural. People see white light or they review their life. Well, with these verifiable cases
Mhm.
that people float out of their body, they can witness
We can
conversations.
witness things at a distance. We've always
Correct.
done that.
Blind people can see,
Blind people can see,
so there's
huge.
so many new
Yeah.
things that have come up that are documented. And I don't know why, as human beings, we need science to prove something. I read an article somewhere that says there's a lot of things science can't prove, and they're real. They don't have an explanation for the ever expanding universe, and there's even something about how and why cats purr. They don't have it. They don't have it all figured out. Like there's a bunch of things that are out there that they don't
There are
know,
many
and
things
even
that they can absolutely prove, and when you look at the evidence they have that makes them absolutely able to prove it, it's garbage. It turns out they can't prove any of these things.
but
I,
there's so many scientific people that are into the afterlife. So
yeah,
I think we all have a skeptical mind, and I think that's good, and I think that's normal. But I
every
think,
person in the afterlife studies has to be skeptical because if you weren't, you would believe everything
yes,
is utter
and
nonsense.
there's some crazies out there, but I think we all want that kind of a flip of the light switch where everybody believes it. Like at some point, people
That's what
thought
we
the
want.
Earth was
Yeah.
flat, right? And then
Mhm.
now everybody knows it's not. And even when the Wright brothers discovered flight and created the airplanes and things like that, they were called crazy and stupid. Nobody believed it. And now air travel, we couldn't live without it. We couldn't be having lunch without there being air travel, right?
That's
So we
right.
all want it to be just common knowledge
That's
until
right.
it's there. A lot of us who believe, we keep our mouths shut. The thing is, and this is one thing that I found when my book came out, I was petrified what people would think, that they would find out that I'm into this
Oh,
woo
but
woo
you're
stuff.
so great.
And everybody said, this is fascinating. One lady, not so much. She was heavy into her form of Christianity and pulled me aside to say a prayer and cast the demons out of me, to which I just said, thank you, right? Like, what am I going to do? But everybody else was interested. They were able to share
Yeah.
their experiences or their psychic moments, or they had a loved one who passed, or somebody had cancer in their family and they're looking for evidence. So it opened up a whole new world. So my request for everybody is just kind of dangle it out there like, oh, I heard this great podcast, Seek Reality. They talk about the afterlife and many great things. What do you think about that? And somebody might say, oh, you like that stuff because I've got this story to share. And when we can share from our heart about what's possible, it gives us life, as you know, Roberta, because we don't like hanging around with people that are just complain, complain, complain. Let's talk about what's possible. Let's talk about gratitude. Let's talk about miracles. Let's talk about intention. Let's talk about these great things. It gives us life and it makes us think, okay, who am I? What's my life for? And when bad stuff happens, because it does, life is difficult, it can help us instead of being a victim of what happened, which is, it's often what happens. Oh, why did this happen to me? Well, if we look at it, from I'm a responsible for it. Now, I'm not saying that everything that happens we signed up for. I do not believe it. I do believe bad things happen. However, with whatever's happened, it gives us an opportunity, gives us an opportunity to grow and learn, make a difference for another. And we can play the game. What if this is something I needed to learn? What would it be? How could I help somebody else? We both share a friend, a wonderful Brian Smith. He's got the book Grief to Growth, and his slogan is planted, not buried, that grief offers us the opportunity to grow. And I love that instead of being shut down. So we can look at things and think, okay, this might stink right now, whatever's happening, but okay, I'm going to do the work, I'm going to learn. And you never know, a couple years down the road, you could be talking to somebody sitting on an airplane, and your story is just the one they needed to hear to give them their life back.
That happens to me so often. I mean, choose my seat, but I don't know who I'm going to be sitting to. It's so often. It turns out to be somebody they needed to have me sitting next to them. And sometimes I go, darn, because I had planned to use that time to work, but that's, doesn't get to happen. Do you ever get people who say, I don't care because I'm just going to blink out like a light? I don't want there to be an afterlife because I want to blink out like a light. That's their choice. Do people
They're
say,
out there, and we can't push on anybody. I was so
they don't
anti
have a
talking about
choice?
this that you couldn't tell me anything that I would be interested in. And even my dear mom, and I love her dearly, and she says, she loves me, of course she does. How could you not, right? No,
Oh,
just
she's a
teasing.
ray of sunshine, your mom.
However, she said, I always think when we die, we die. She says, I didn't grow up that people went to mediums or psychics and or even involved in that conversation. So when I first started talking this, she's like, oh, I love you, but when we die, we die. I'm like, okay, well, here's the thing, Mom. Some of these interviews I do are really extraordinary. Do I have my permission to share them with you? And she says, oh, yeah, of course. Well, through all of this sharing, it just opens up that she and I have all these psychic experiences together. Like it's really interesting that we might say the same thing at the same time, even though it's the furthest thing from our mind, or we might know things, or like these weird things happen. And then every so often I get one of these interviews that I just like, oh my gosh. So my interview with Dr. Tom Nemi, now the psychologist, I explained it to her and she says, can you send it to me? Sure, I can. Well, she watched it. Now she's reading his book. She says, this is
Good.
incredible. So people at some point, I think just as being human being, no matter how skeptical we are, either we get older or some people get sick or some people have a loved one die, they're going to naturally start asking those questions. And then they're naturally going to find good, supportive people that will lead them through the journey. But we can't ever push it on people because that just gets ugly. And there are those closed-minded skeptics that no matter what you say, they're not going to believe. So that's not our audience. We've got great people that listen to us, Roberta, that are interested. So just a shout out to all the listeners right now. Thank you for being here.
I just can't resist when I get those emails, and I get them. I don't care because I'm just going to turn it off. That's, my husband came into my office just a few days ago. Apparently there was an article in the Wall Street Journal, which he devours, including, whatever there's a space between the articles. He devours what's in that too. I can't even see anything there, but somehow there's something there. He devours that too. And he said, he was telling me about this man who had died at the age of 80 and he killed himself, but he knew there was nothing there. He was famous, so I guess he deserved to kill himself. I have no idea. But anyway, he went someplace where you could do assisted death. And but he knew there was nothing after death, and he wanted there to be nothing after death, and that was it. He blinked out like a light, therefore. I said to him, but dear, you don't have that choice. Nobody blinks out like a light. You know that life is eternal. He's got me for wife. I'm his I'm his wife. So he doesn't have a choice. He has to go, absolutely, of course, to an afterlife, and he knows by now that he doesn't have a choice. But I said, that guy didn't have a choice either. He's in the afterlife now, whether he likes it or not. And that's what I tell people when I get their emails. That's what I would have told him. You don't have a choice, whether you like it or not. And that's true.
I think he's delighted now. And I do think from all my interviews, you're probably the same, that whatever our core beliefs are, I think we tend to first experience when we pass into that summer land. So if you're somebody who doesn't believe, okay, maybe it's just dark for a while, and then all of a sudden there's a pinprick of light, and then all of a sudden your dog that you had when you were a child comes running up to you,
Coming with your face.
and the joy is there. But I do think the universe is that intelligent that it give us maybe what we believe when we first pass over,
I
and
was
then it just opens up.
Yeah, but it doesn't happen sometimes quite that way. I was a big, big fan of Bob Monroe and all his travels. And I think he was the one who coined the term hollow heaven. And there are hollow heavens, and you can put yourself in a hollow heaven. And a hollow heaven, and the most common one, is the pearly gates on a cloud with St. Peter's, with or without St. Peter, but there is always a St. Peter's, little table there where he would sometimes stand with a pen. And people land there, or sometimes they land nowhere. They walk in a fog because they knew there would be nothing after death. And those places actually exist. And so if you're so sure there's nothing after death, that's what you get. You make your own hollow heaven. And when I read that he had gone and traveled and found these places, and he named them hollow heavens, I was horrified. I mean, oh my God.
I don't believe it totally, though, Roberta. If I may just give you my thoughts, because I just interviewed somebody who does all this astral traveling, and it's great. But I think we get to a certain.
True, but I don't know.
It's not true. We've done enough in all the books that you've read and all the trance mediumship and all that stuff. Nah, but we're still connected. That's why you and I have
If your mind
the
is
same
closed,
feelings about some of the near-death experiences. They show something great. They do. They show that our consciousness can leave our body. But for as many people who's had them, there's different things that are experienced. So we can't say that that is a reason to believe, in the afterlife. We're still
just don't think it's anything, but don't tell yourself it's going to be nothing.
Right, but I don't think thinking it will cause it to be nothing. Bob Monroe, the fellow I interviewed the other day, we can only get so far with our knowledge being a human being. I don't think we're able to access all of it till it's our time to go. A lot of people think that we have this silver cord that connects us to our bodies while we're here. And then when that final act of death comes, that's when we're released. I don't think, and I don't care if it's Bob Monroe or who does it. I don't think as human beings, we're going to fully know what's available on the other side till we get there.
I'm sure
and
that's
I
true.
do know that there's been people that have had, whether it's a scary near-death experience or didn't believe, and then all of a sudden there's a little bit of light. Intuitively, they start praying and something opens up. Like I said, there's their golden retriever or their loved
sure
one.
that's one kind of experience that they can
Yeah. Yeah. But from all the great mediums from the past over the hundreds and hundreds of years, we're here or we're there. There's some time, we call it time. There's no time over there that, maybe we need to get our feet on the ground and realize who we are and what it's all about. But I never want people to think that they're going to get stuck somewhere. Now, I think we should live the best life we can here, make a difference for other people.
If they get stuck, they do get rescued. But it could take a while. There are places. I mean, I just want I want everyone to be open-minded. Don't assume there's any kind of afterlife. Just assume that God has a plan. Assume that as long as you follow your rescuers from your bedside, everything will be fine. It's the people who are so sure about something that can get in trouble because you can create. Your mind is very powerful. You can create something that wasn't supposed to be because your mind is so powerful. You can override God's plan. Just don't do that. The silver cord is real. That's real because it's in even in the Old Testament. Don't you think that's neat? That's where the name silver cord comes from.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you for that.
Ecclesiastes. I'll send you the site.
I think with all of this, that it's maybe this is the wrong way to put it, but if we go into a department store and we're looking for a new coat, there's going to be ones that we try on, maybe.
Yeah,
It's going to be ones that, ooh, this is the one. There's going to be ones not at all. For each one of us souls on our human experience, there's going to be all kinds of people, especially if we start listening to podcasts and reading books and going to mediums and things. Everybody's going to want you to spend their money with them. Take what resonates to you, like that coat that fits, and hold that as your truth and live your best life. I always think it's good for whatever it is that we learn, that we keep our eye on making a difference for other people.
that's
I
the
think it's
biggest
good
thing.
if we live our life, if we all assume that there's a life review of some sort, whether there is or there isn't. If we assume there is, we can live our life going to bed at night thinking, did I do the best job possible? If I have to relive this moment sometime in the future, did I hurt somebody else? Did I make a difference?
Did I
So I think all of
feel
this
loved?
afterlife can help us how we're living life now. And I think if we look to the core of what it is you and I do, seeking reality and we don't die and shades of the afterlife really is to give people that opening to live the best life that they can and create, dare I say, heaven on earth.
Especially heaven and earth for other people. I mean, that's what I really love about what we do. I mean, the people who go to your Sunday gathering go because it makes them happy and they leave it even happier. And that I know is why so many people go. They don't have to. I mean, they could do any number of other things on their morning, but that's something that they I'm sure love doing. And they get these mediums readings, they get these singing, they do all this lovely stuff that makes them feel so good. Oh my goodness,
Me
darling.
too. Me too. Before every Sunday gathering, I'm usually busy doing other stuff. I don't have my hair done. I'm in my BJs maybe. And I was like, oh, okay, it's Sunday gathering time. The
Time to
moment I'm
get done.
on, not
Yeah,
only the music, the community, people typing great things in the chat box and
yeah,
smiles and fun, the spirit kicks in. There's an address that we give. So, whatever the topic is of the week. And when it's my time to do the address, I tell you, it feels like this mighty wind of inspiration comes in. And
yeah,
even though I might have up here what it is I want to talk about, it just flows. You see
right,
some of these great
right.
trance
I
mediums,
know
it
the
just
feeling. Yeah,
flows. It's like, where did that come from? In spirit, we're inspired. And
yeah,
so they're beautiful. And then when you see the reunions through the medium demonstrations, although we can't see the people, we do the Zoom webinar style, but you hear their voice, and these mediums are so particular that nobody could know this information. And you just hear it in their voice, like, yeah, that's my loved one. And even though there's a handful of people that get readings in the Sunday gathering, what I tell people is I said, the people like myself and my medium friends on Zoom, they're called panelists, right? So we're the live panelists for the Sunday gathering, delivering the human side to 150 to 200 people.
right.
Let's call the 4 or 5 people that come through the mediums in the spirit world panelists from the other side. So I ask people, even if it's not your loved one to come that comes through, witness how close they are. Witness these facts that they're able to say. I was just with you yesterday when you were at the ball game with your son. Whatever that is, and then
Yeah,
whatever the message is, pull it towards you like it's a message for you so that everybody has that experience. And I know that they work together from the other side, and I know they're also by our sides. Our loved ones so much want us to live our lives, because at some point this life here is gonna end, right? And
it's
yes, we're gonna
so
open our eyes to them. But looking back on our life, did we love? Did we make a difference? Did we work through our fears? Work out of leave our comfort zone, Did we have self-love? All of those things. Did we have some fun and smiles? Did we meet our friend Roberta for a margarita? All these things are so important.
Absolutely. And you're so funny. I'm the only one who has a margarita, so I get the large one. And so guess who
Yeah,
gets
but
half
I
of
share. I
it? Yeah,
do.
right. Oh, Sandra's not going to have a margarita, and every single time she
Could I
has.
have a glass? Yeah. You don't mind, do you?
Look, we tell our little secrets here on Seek Reality because what are we seeking? We're seeking what's reality. So there
But
we
people need to know we're real human beings. I don't, some of these people you see on TV, you think, "Oh, I could never relate to that person because they're too perfect." No, we're just
go.
spiritual adventurers. And then we want to play, we want to share. We don't want to be doing this alone.
No, but we have so much fun. All we do is laugh for like 2 hours. Yeah, it's really fun. Because there are so few people, I think, who really understand how fundamentally fun what you and I really do is. Because what could be happier than spending your life researching the afterlife? What could be more fun than that? Because when we started it, we didn't know what we were going to learn. We could have learned some bad stuff. So we were like adventurers on the ultimate journey. But everything we ever have learned has been all good news. Think about that, Sandra. Think about it. Everything has been good news. It's like you think you're maybe going into a wilderness of pain and and yet it turned out to be Candyland. And everything you find. Oh, and we get that too? Oh, and over here, look, Sandra, look what's over here. It's all good news. All of
Your
it.
book, Roberta, The Fun of Dying, really made a big difference for me because, initially I was so turned off by the title because I was going through grief and I'm thinking, who's this lady saying it's fun, right? But it opened my eyes to the joy when we leave this body. And that's not to discount anyone who's feeling the pain of grief. It's not at all. But
It's not
when
fun to
we
live behind, but when
when
you
we migrate to the other side, we're free. We are, yeah, just illumined souls, and it is a joyful experience. So anyone who hasn't yet read The Fun of Dying by Roberta Grimes, it's a must. Roberta, I don't want to miss this. For your listeners and viewers, if you want a free copy of my book in PDF form, my website is wedon'tdie.com. At the bottom of the page there, if you're willing to put your name and email address, it says there you get the first few chapters. It's the whole book. And the reason is chapter 10 is about grief and surviving grief and getting through it. There's things about grief that I learned that I really think help people on their journey and move through it. So I want everybody to have that as a gift. Also, as I got some other gifts in there as well. I've got a list of my episodes of Shades of the Afterlife by different topics. So if you're interested in signs from your loved one or automatic writing, or you want to hear more about deathbed visions, I've got them categorized. And
oh,
so
you
you
are
can
so
just go,
nice to
yeah, I'm a
do
nice
that.
person. But it helps. It really does. Because I know that in the past, there's tons. Now I've got 230 episodes of that and well over 400 episodes of We Don't Die. And to be able to go and say, this is what I'm interested in, and then just find it. Because left to your own devices, to scroll down to episode 1 of Seek Reality, it takes a little work. But again, wedon'tdie.com. You can, the bottom of the page, name and email address. And then you can also click on things like the Sunday Gathering link. I've got a store page that is everything coming up. We do a lot of free things. There's medium classes as well. Help through grief. There's lots of great recordings there. Just play around. You can listen to past episodes of the
Oh, my
shows
sweetheart, you
and
just
be in
do
touch
such
with me.
wonderful
Yeah.
work.
I just wanted to make sure everybody has that at their fingertips if
And
you'd
we have
like.
totally run out of time, but you stay where you are. I'm just going to tell everyone what we're doing. We're going to do next week, which will be something else that's fun. We only do fun stuff. But you have just been, is there anything you want people to, well, I was going to say, is there anything you want people to especially know and you were smart enough to know, you'd better say it all now. So, but what you mainly want people to know is life is eternal.
Life is eternal and your loved ones are around, and don't discount the thoughts that come into your imagination. Don't think you made them up, because that is how our loved ones work. And you may be doing whatever in your day, and all of a sudden you get a memory of out of the blue with your loved one. It can be as simple as that. That's a little calling card saying, I'm still with you, I'm around. And the more you start thinking about past and happy experiences, more things will come in. And that's a nice way to communicate with your loved one.
Well, how beautifully said. Thank you so much, darling. Well, I will be right back. I'm just going to go and tell everybody about our next week's guest. Oh, wasn't that beautiful? Oh my goodness, that was wonderful. Once again, though, we've come to the end of our time. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. I'm so happy you could be with us today. And please never forget, you are a powerful, eternal being. You never began, you never will end. And when you get that, it changes everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be our very dear friend, Father Nathan Castle. He'll be with us for the 11th time. And Father Nathan, as most of you know, is a Dominican priest. He was chosen by Spirit, I think about 30 years ago now, to help Spirit to go into the world, the spirit world, to find all the people who were ready to transition, but had not been when their body died, and to help those people to complete their journeys, because many people become earthbound at death. I always thought this was a small problem. It's a huge one. We're told now that close to 25% of the people who die actually become earthbound at death for a period of time. And that percentage is plain horrifying. And Father Nathan is one of the people who, with his team, will rescue those people when they feel ready to be rescued, and will help them then go to the other side. Father Nathan is an absolutely delightful and beautiful human being. He's now among one of our favorite Seek Reality guests. Many people tell me they want to hear from Father Nathan again, so he will be here next week. And if you don't love him yet, I think you'll love him soon. So please be sure to be with us next week. And this week, we've been enjoying and talking with our great friend, yours and mine both, the lovely Sandra Champlain. She's been with us for the 18th, but not certainly the last time. Sandra works closely with George Nouri. She works with a lot of people who, some of them now from the United Kingdom, and a whole team she has who work with her because she is such a delight. Her wonderful book, We Don't Die, which is She Told You, you can get for free in PDF. It's a perennial bestseller as well. I have lunch with her whenever I'm in Massachusetts, and as you heard, that'll be about when this, I think, goes live. So just envision us. We usually go to the same restaurant and we drink margaritas and eat for a couple of hours, and we spend so much time laughing that I can't get over it. It takes days for me to get over a lunch with Sandra. She's actually even more fun, believe it or not, to be with in person than she is when you see her by a podcast. She really is a wonderful, wonderful spirit. And that reminds me, too, to tell you that my other best friend on this side is Craig Hogan. He's also someone that I really enjoy just knowing. And he's the president and guru of Seek Reality Online, which is your one-stop resource for all things afterlife. Just go to seekreality.com and start to learn for yourself that your own reality really unavoidably is eternal, and it's great beyond your greatest possible imaginings. And that's all the time we have, frankly, dear ones. Oh, I just have to tell you that if you ever want to contact me for any reason at all, if you have a question, if you want to tell me, do this, do that, bring that person back or whatever, just go to the green contact block on robertagrimes.com and send me an email. It takes me a while to answer emails because I get so many, but I always answer my emails. And meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and make the most of this coming week in our one reality, always knowing that you in particular are a powerful, eternal being, and you, most of all in this entire universe, you are infinitely, eternally, and perfectly loved.